Welcome again to our Getting Closure podcast. I'm James. I'm here with Cheryl. Hi Cheryl, how you going?
Hi James.
Cheryl Stainsby from Your Director's Advocate. So last week, Cheryl, we talked about people being in business who maybe aren't accepting the fact that something's wrong. And if you think about the stages of grief, you could say that one of those is denial. So talk me through the denial that you see. Like, what is it? What is the denial that you've seen that have kept people from knocking on your door, for example?
So, James, I think that one of the big problems when somebody's business is in trouble is that there's just a big black hole in front of them. They can't see a way through to the other side. They don't know what's going to happen. And the fear of the unknown is often a hell of a lot worse than the fear of the reality. So,
is that partly because people have got so many horror stories of what goes wrong? Or sort of, we talked about that last time, sort of what someone talked to about them at a barbecue about what they did. Or,
yeah, you're going to lose everything.
Right.
The reality is, for a lot of people whose businesses may be going bad, they need to put it into liquidation, they don't lose everything. Even people who have to go personally bankrupt don't always lose everything. A lot of people whose businesses fail still manage to keep their house. They still manage to keep their cars. Nobody comes to your door and takes your kids' computers. A lot of these things are just fallacies. But people are terrified of them. So they're frightened to even face it because they're frightened of what might happen.
So this is this place where people aren't prepared to accept that there's an issue, or they know there's an issue but they aren't prepared to do something about it, or is it kind of both?
They're not prepared to do something about it because they're terrified of what might happen.
Yeah.
And what we really like to do when clients come to see us is sit down with them and step them through the whole process. We spend 3 hours with a client at least in our first meeting, going through the whole business process, what they own personally, what they've got, what they haven't got. And we can usually in that first meeting step them through what's likely to happen as a result of their business failing.
And gosh, maybe it mightn't be that bad. Is that what you're thinking?
Often it's not that bad, yeah.
I think you've got to be clear there. Sometimes it's pretty hard. Sometimes it is pretty tough.
Sometimes it is bad. But if you've got someone to hold your hand through the process and guide you and make sure you do everything properly, introduce you to the right professionals who will make sure you're doing everything by the book, you're not doing anything dodgy.
Nothing wrong, yeah.
You're not doing anything wrong, then often even the worst case scenario is more palatable.
But that's fine. That's great. That's awesome. Someone should definitely do that. But if I'm in denial, how am I going to get to that? We talked about last time about maybe if a wife or a husband spots a person not taking calls or seeing things business being interrupted by shipment stoppage. Like, what's the bit that gets them to you? Is it the knock on the door from the sheriff? I mean, business.
Yeah, actually, don't laugh. Sometimes you're right. Sometimes it is the knock on the door from the sheriff. It's the demand from the ATO. It's the somebody knocking on the door, serving them with a document.
That'll do it.
Sometimes that is the catalyst that will actually get them to come and see us. And I think also we haven't talked about the fear of what do I do when this business is closed?
Of course.
We're talking about a lot of small business owners, and this is what they've done all their lives.
Well, you've bought yourself a franchise, you've put a lot of money into it, and you've put some money against the house often, that sort of thing. Yeah, what are you going to do when this is finished?
Exactly.
And yet it's human nature, really, isn't it, to sit there and say, well, I'll just give it one more try. Or you're almost, in some ways, you're an entrepreneur, you're a person trying to run a business. So you what the government and the society tells you what you're doing is good, you're running your business. But they're not so friendly sometimes when it's not working out for you. So denial's a reasonable thing for a lot of people to perhaps encounter. The challenge you're going to say is to step past it.
And I think this is it. Once people do step past it, once people do get some advice, often they find then that they can move on to the next step and start to do something about their business.
Take the leap.
Yeah.
Thanks.